Most terrifying flash floods caught on camera. Flash floods can happen minutes or hours after heavy rain, and they can happen even if it's not raining where you are. They can be caused by rain that falls at a higher elevation. People are often surprised by flash floods because they happen quickly and are hard to predict. People always have their smartphones on them now, so more flash floods have been caught on video. Scientists can learn a lot from these videos about how flash floods work. With this information, people will be safer in the future. Watch this video until the end to see the most terrifying flash floods caught on camera. It had been pouring for days and days, and the ground was soaked. A thunderous rumble filled the air, and the ground began to shake. A massive flood had arrived, and with waves 10 to 12 feet high. Everything in its path was crushed and carried away, with massive buildings collapsing, power poles uprooted, massive trees uprooted, and cars thrown into the air. The water was unrelenting, and it easily destroyed everything in its path. People were racing to move out from the path of destruction, but many were unable to do so in time. As the water level increased, it engulfed entire homes, leaving families with nothing. Animals were afraid, and some drowned in the flood, while others were crushed by rubble and swept away by the relentless currents. The flood was severe, utterly destroying the port, throwing massive cruise ships off course and leaving them trapped. The flood's furious waters rose fast and swept away everything in its path, destroying the port. The cruise ships docked at the harbor were washed away by the floodwaters and thrown off track. The image of the harbor entirely wrecked and the cruise ship stranded, unable to continue its voyage, and it was terrible. The flood's aftermath was disastrous, leaving the port in ruins and the cruise ships unable to depart. The port had been a major commercial and tourism hub, thus, its demise was devastating to the local economy. The cruise ships were unable to continue their route as well. The flood was a disaster that caused widespread devastation and loss, and it served as a reminder of nature's strength and how swiftly it may demolish everything we've built. The flood that erupted from the bridge was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. The muck poured over the bridge like an unstoppable force, threatening to destroy everything in its path. The bridge appeared to be collapsing under the strain of the flood with each passing instant, but it somehow remained standing. What was genuinely unnerving was that the water seemed to have a mind of its own. The mud seemed to throb and swell with odd energy, as if something dark and ominous lurked beneath it, ready to be unleashed. The floodwaters began to crawl away from the bridge, spreading like a virus across the land. It left a trail of ruin in its wake as it moved. Houses, crops, and even woods were destroyed as the monster flood raged on. This flood carries a lot of muck. It pushes aside anything that gets in its way. It is a tremendous force that sweeps away anything that it comes into contact with. The mud it transports is heavy and viscous, blocking any routes or waterways it encounters. Water has soaked the earth beneath the flood, resulting in a muddy mess that can be difficult to navigate. The flood also brings a large amount of debris such as trees, rocks, and other objects that were once in its path. This debris is carried along with the mud, resulting in a powerful mud and debris mixture that can do substantial damage to anything in its path. The flood can also do a lot of damage to the wildlife in its path. Fish are frequently washed away by mud and debris, while other animals may be unable to escape the floodwaters. This has the potential to devastate the local environment and lead to the extinction of some species. The murky water rushed forward with unrelenting fury, devouring everything in its path. Houses that had stood hard for decades were washed away in minutes, along with power poles and massive trees, their trunks split apart like twigs. The roar of the river was deafening, seeming to come from everywhere at once. The deluge was horrible to see, with waves of water slamming down on the town and smashing everything in its path. The water was so forceful that it broke up the asphalt roads, scattering enormous chunks of pavement around town. People were fleeing for their lives everywhere, some of them unable to escape in time. So, that's a wrap for today's video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to check out our other videos for natural disasters. And see you next time.